My name is Devin Lee, and I have a story about God's grace and mercy. I am a woman of God, a woman of faith, a woman of courage, a woman of strength, a work in progress. I am a woman with God's grace and mercy, and I have a story, and I want to share how God has shown me His glory. As a young child, my mother and I were abused. She was verbally abused, and I was verbally and physically abused by my father, which led them to divorce when I was the age of 15. She became a single mother to a teenager who was sheltered and didn't know anything about the world. We settled into Inglewood, California. God provided an amazing home where we found peace and happiness. When I turned 16, my mother gave me permission to date and hang out with friends. Immediately, her peace turned into worry. I was disobedient, disrespectful, and thinking I was grown. I started to ditch school, and the teacher started calling. She then gave me an ultimatum to work or go to school, and I decided I wanted to work. So I started working, and shortly then I decided I wanted to have my own apartment. My mother agreed. With her help through it all, God provided her strength and love, which poured over into me. So I was 16, a high school dropout with a job at Kentucky Fried Chicken, and now I have my own apartment. I eventually started working in retail at the Beverly Center, and I was a thriving teenager. I got a taste of the real world. I started hanging with the wrong people, started smoking weed, but with God's grace and mercy, nothing stopped me from working and paying my bills. My mother now met someone who instantly became a father figure in my life. As a teenager, it was hard to accept, but today, he is my daddy. At age 18, I had a guy in my life who was extremely jealous, physically and mentally abusive towards me. At this time, my parents were now living in Huntington Beach. Once they found out I was in a bad situation, they came for me. They helped me get into another apartment in Huntington Beach and provided a car for me. They even set rules that I could not go back to Inglewood nor Los Angeles. I must start a new life and move forward. I agreed. However, I was not good with rules. I ended up going back to Inglewood to be with my friends, and I even went back to my ex-boyfriend. On a few occasions, they found out I was back with him, but however, I never shared where I lived with him. But this time, he started abusing me even more, and he found out where I lived, and he damaged my apartment so bad that management told me I had to leave. My parents were furious, and they told me I must move back to my father in Ontario, California. I immediately became distraught. This was the last place I wanted to go. I lost my apartment, my car, my job, my independence behind bad choices. At age 19, I went to live with my father, who remarried and who immediately told me he will not support me. The only thing that he will do is keep a roof over my head, feed me, and I was to help with my younger siblings. The rest I must figure out. As time went on, I was in my room watching TV, and I saw a commercial for a UEI trade school. This school was offering dental assistant, medical assistant, and pharmacist assistant programs. I was intrigued with becoming a dental assistant. I immediately got up, got on the bus, and went to the school, not knowing that God was with me. I sat down to enroll, and the first thing they asked me, "Do you have a high school diploma?" I said yes. My God, His grace and mercy enrolled me into school. It was a 6-month course, and my worries were, how am I going to get back and forth to school? I had no money, and I had no job, and my father always reminded me he will not be supporting me. So I called my parents to give them the good news, and they were proud. However, still disappointed. I dared not ask for money. So one day, I'm looking in my father's living room, and I found an Arrowhead bottle, water, filled with change. And I said to myself, this is how I'm gonna go to school. Eventually, my mother started giving me a few dollars here and there to help me out. I finished dental school with a 98%. My father did not come to my graduation, but my mother and my dad did. After my graduation, my parents decided to give me another chance. So I moved back to Huntington Beach with my parents, and for the first time, with no help, They told me that if you want an apartment and get a car, you're on your own. So on the bus I go. I'm on top of the world now, and I'm ready to do right, and I'm thriving once again. Finally, I got my own apartment and a brand new car. At the age of 26, my parents and I have an awesome relationship. I listen to their advice, and I am now in a position to do things for them. We were 3 peas in a pod. My parents moved to Nevada, and I stayed in Huntington Beach. Since I love to drive at night because there was no traffic, I packed up and came to visit on a couple of occasions. I instantly fell in love with the summertime weather. My dental job offices had various locations, so after the last time I visited my parents, I went back to work, and I wanted to see if they had a location in Nevada, and they did. I immediately called and spoke to the manager here in Nevada, and I asked her what position is open. She said a receptionist. I said, well, currently I'm an insurance biller, and I get paid more than a receptionist. She said, well, since you're already in the company, you're hired, and we'll keep you at the same pay. And again, she asked me, when can I start? And again, that was God's grace. I called my parents and told them I had a job instantly. They became in awe and was proud of my accomplishments. The next weekend, which was following a Saturday for me coming to visit my parents, I was back in Nevada, but this time to find an apartment. We found an apartment on Saturday afternoon. Sunday night, I was back at home in California. I went back to work on Monday, put in my 2 weeks, which was 1 week, because that following weekend, my parents came down, packed me up, and we moved here. Sunday night, I was in my new apartment. Monday, I started my new job. God's grace. Age 33. My life is going well. I have a new position as a dental hygienist assistant, getting paid good money weekly, and I became close to a coworker who I spent time with and her family. We traveled together, and we even hung out at a motorcycle club on the west side here in Nevada. I was having fun. We even traveled to Laughlin and Cali with them. I love the motorcycles a lot, and they became like family to me. Everybody knew everybody. You listen to good music, dance, and although I wasn't a drinker, I still liked to smoke weed. At this time, my parents was living in Anthem, and I had my own apartment, and I always liked to live upstairs because I was by myself and I felt safe. But unfortunately, I had an elder lady that lived under me who always called the police on me or the security guard. So eventually I had to move out. I asked my parents if I could move in with them because they had a casita in front of their home. It was a good idea because I was able to I was able to pay rent for them, and they was able to help me. So it worked out. On Friday, March 16, 2012, my life changed. On this day, I worked an 8-hour shift starting at 7 a.m. I worked out with my trainer at the gym, went home, showered to get dressed for the evening. I met up with one of my friends. We ate, we smoked, hung out for a while, and then we went our separate ways. I ended up at the motorcycle club that evening, again, smoking, shooting pool, listening to music, and hanging out. I hung out until 1 a.m. Not only was it getting late, but I had to be at work at 7 a.m. My friend and I, we was leaving at the same time, and he asked me, are you okay to drive? I said yes. So I got into my car and I laid back, and I said, I am sleepy. God give me strength. So I love a sound system. I turned my music up, and I began to go home. About 30 to 45 minutes it took me to drive home. I exited St. Rose off of the 15, and I started to go the direction behind the M. It was really dark at this time, and I was really getting sleepy. I found myself closing my eyes and opening them. I was about 4 blocks away from my home, and there's a hill back there. So as going up, I open and I close. I go down, and then as I go up again, I find myself closing my eyes and never waking back up or opening them back up. I woke up with my friend calling me on my cell phone, and he said, did you make it at home? And I said, no, I got into a car accident. The next time I woke up, I passed out again, and the next time I woke up, it was a paramedic holding my head saying, don't move because we have to cut you out. I instantly felt that my teeth was broken, and I said, did anybody get hurt? Did I hurt anybody? I never got an answer because I passed back out. I woke up in the hospital with a broken face. My cheeks was broken, my nose was broken, my jaw was broken, my mandible was broken, my left leg is broken, my tibia and fibula in 3 places. Again, God's grace and mercy saved my life that night. I heard the nurse say to me, "You are lucky from the damage done to your face, and you do not have brain damage." I could not see nor talk because I had tubes in my nose, I had a trachea, and I had a feeding tube in my stomach. I was in the hospital for 1 month and in a rehab for 1 month. Excuse me. My parents and family on my side. My friend who checked up on me was there for a while, but eventually faded away. The hygienist that I worked for, she came and visited me. But again, I could not see, nor could I talk. So she said, "Debbie, what did you do to yourself?" So she grabbed my hand, and in my hand, she put in my paycheck. She said, "Unfortunately, this is your last paycheck. You are no longer working at the office. The doctor has fired you." I said, "Okay." I began to cry, and I said, "Lord, what did I do? Why me?" I just started asking the question, why me? So moving forward, the same doctor that fired me, God ended up touching his heart, and he ended up blessing me with a set of partials, upper and lower. As Jesus began to heal me and bless me with strength and courage, I did feel sorry for myself, and I began to say, "Have your way, Lord." The nurses and doctors began to see the work of God through me. Once I was released from the hospital and rehab, I went home to continue to heal. God placed a man in my life who I married and moved to Philadelphia with. I was there for 3 days, still swollen and walking with a limp, but I found a job that I went to in a dental office. I worked temporarily at numerous offices until God sent me to this one particular office called By Design Dental, which specializes in implants. I befriended a wonderful woman who was the manager of the practice. We were eating lunch, and she noticed that I had my partials out while eating. She pulled me to the side and asked me what happened. I then began to tell her about God's glory. And without knowing, she went and asked the doctors if they could help me with providing me with some implants. So one day she came back and she told me what she did, and their answer was yes, they can help me. I immediately went to the bathroom and gave praise. Again, God's grace and mercy. I was blessed with not only 1 implant, but 7 implants for free. They turned my partials into an all-on-4, which are screwed in and cannot be removed without tools. I became the face of their practice. I ended up in the local news telling my testimony. I even was on their website with a video with my testimony. At the age 38, all while I was in Philadelphia, I would tell myself, "Lord, have your way." I prayed every day and night and thanking God for everything that he has done and brought me through. Even though I was going through depression at the time because my marriage was not happy, God spoke to me during the night and said, "I'm not done with you yet." I woke up thinking about the goodness of the Lord, and my depression faded away. I decided to get my high school diploma. I then enrolled in CSI, which is Crime Scene Investigation School, online. They asked for my high school diploma. Everything was good, and I was proud to say yes. I was happy and I saw my future. My marriage didn't work out, so I moved home back to Nevada, September of 2016. I was 3 months away from graduating from CSI school. That was a 3-year program. Until one day I got a call from my counselor and they told me that my high school diploma was not accredited. My heart dropped and I said, "This can't be." I began to ask God why once again. My student loan was canceled, and now here I am with no idea of what I'm gonna do next. So one thing I am good at is finding a job in dentistry, and I never cease from praying. So God blessed me here again with a holistic office where I was an insurance biller. My life was happy and I prayed daily. I stopped looking for love and focused on myself. I would go to church every Sunday with my parents until one Sunday I met my future in-laws. who would come to my mother and I and introduce their son to us. We spoke for a few minutes after church, and we spoke more and more every Sunday, his parents and I and my mother. But this particular Sunday, as I'm speaking to this man's parents, after church, he walks in with his son, and we all started talking. And his son's name is Devin, and I began to talk to his son, and that is when we both noticed each other. I began to pray about this man named Dexter because he was very attractive to me. I did not want to get involved with another man that was not right for me and that was not a man of God. Between September and January, my parents and I would be together and talk, and I would mention Dexter's name and how fine he was to me. My dad and his brother decided to discuss this behind my back and decided to tell Dexter, his brother decided to tell Dexter that I thought he was fine and attractive. So one day in January, we met again, unfortunately, at a funeral, at a fellow member funeral. And he spoke, and I heard from God that day, and he told me that will be your husband. Once the funeral is over, our eyes connected and history was made. We married May 25th of 2019. Another blessing at age 40. One day I was at work in 2018. God spoke to me again and said, look online for high school diplomas, programs. I immediately went online, and the first thing that pulled up was the Las Vegas Clark County Library. I called to see what the program was about. A lady answered the phone, and I began to ask, what do I need to do? She said, this program is not for everybody. We pick who we feel is best for the program because it's minimum of people that we accept and because it's free. I must have an interview and pass the placement test. I said, okay, when can I come down? So she said, you must set up an appointment and come and meet me. I was all over. I said, okay, when can we set it up? So once we met, she saw how eager I was, and she asked, why do I want my high school diploma at this age? I told her about God's glory, and she immediately had a story herself that she shared with me. The interview went well, and I passed the placement test. I began school online. 1 year later, I walked across the stage with my accredited high school diploma, and my husband and parents, even the doctor that I worked for, and his wife was there to support my accomplishments. Age 41, I enrolled in phlebotomy school at Northwest Career College, a 3-month program. I graduated on the honor roll. I found out I was 2 months pregnant. I had our son December 6th of 2020, and at the age of 43 today, I am in my 2nd semester at Arizona College for Nursing to receive my bachelor's degree as an RN. Without God's grace and mercy, I don't know where I will be or who I will be or if I will even be here to tell my story. So all I can say is thank you, God, for your grace and mercy. And as I wrote out my testimony, I remember how God never has taken his hands off of me. He was there when I didn't even know he was. Throughout my life, God has shown me his grace and mercy, and his son, Jesus Christ, has saved me. I am still a work in progress. God has a plan for me, and I'm willing to be a servant until my time is up on this earth and he calls me home to paradise. Thank you.
So Devin, you have literally been remade.
Yes.
Literally remade. Tell those women out there what it feels like to know that God would take the time to not make you once, but make you twice. How do you feel about that?
I feel like he took that time out just for me to make me over twice, that he has a plan for me. I feel amazing because I have a story to tell about God and his goodness, about Jesus. He is a healer. Everything that you read in the Bible is true. I am a walking testimony, and I will tell anybody how good God is because he is good and he is real.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.